Today we're speaking with Dennis Matheson, who is the Chief Technical Officer at Terrestar Networks. Dennis, how are you?
Doing well today, thank you.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the program. Would you mind giving us a little bit of background on your company, please?
Yes, Terrestar Networks is a mobile satellite services company who just launched their first satellite in July of this year. It's the world's largest commercial satellite, but it's designed in order to be able to change the paradigm of satellite communication such that you'll be able to get down to consumer level phones. So therefore, we've really put the power and the necessary parts in the satellite in order for the everyday type of phone to be able to communicate to the satellite, and then added terrestrial involved into it as well, so that when you've got terrestrial coverage, you've got the benefits of the terrestrial coverage. If the terrestrial coverage goes down or you're beyond the terrestrial coverage, then you have a satellite communication. So that's the paradigm that Terrestar brings to the table.
That's great. Well, you actually brought a phone with you, right?
I did.
Now, would you mind showing us that phone just
Not
briefly, and so we could take a look at it ourselves?
This is the first product that we have coming out. It will be actually offered up first quarter of 2010 by at&t, who's just announced that they're our first distribution partner for this particular service. And as you can see, this is a unit unlike the satellite communication type phones that you may have seen in the past from a size and from an antenna perspective, because that's the complete unit as we see it today.
And it's just, if you could turn it sideways there, it's just a little bit, as you can see here, slightly thicker than what you might see a comparable smartphone, right?
Absolutely. And that will change over time as well, because we have a chipset programs going on with Infineon and Qualcomm, so that the number of chips that we have reduces down. So you'll be able to reduce the chip count, get this even into a smaller profiles, and it also will do things like improve battery life, because you're in the fewer number of chips that are actually embedded in the unit.
And Dennis, you gave me an unbelievable amount of specs in terms of all the different frequencies that this phone can work on. Could you just go through those briefly for the viewers?
Very briefly, what this is a quad band GSM, so that makes it a world phone. It's compatible with at&t's 3G network. It has the 2.0 gigahertz satellite spectrum that we utilize. It also has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS embedded in this, so you can actually do location-based services through GPS through this type of device.
And you mentioned earlier that just like any other type of phone that has roaming agreements, it just determines which network makes the most sense, whether it would be a Wi-Fi network or whether it would be satellite, and do the phones just or do the calls just hop, or do you have to continue?
Well, the decision by at&t has been that because they will charge a different charge rate for satellite versus terrestrial use, they wanted to make sure the customer knew that they were moving to a higher cost profile. So therefore, they wanted the call to have to be dropped and recreated by the user, knowing that they had switched over to satellite. From a technology perspective, we're capable of seamlessly handing off between a terrestrial and a satellite back to a terrestrial. But that's not the implementation that at&t has chosen for this first device.
And so this seems to be, as far as I know, the first time that a device has been able to do this, right?
It is the first time. This is actually the world's first smartphone for satellite.
Right, and that's what I meant. I've seen other larger phones with similar functionality, but they're literally, I'd say 10 times bigger or more than that phone.
And a lot more expensive.
Correct. So actually, I shouldn't say correct. I mean, I'm just assuming that that's a few $100 premium over a traditional smartphone. I have no idea what it costs.
This one, actually, at&t has announced that they're going to sell it for as low as $799.
Okay, so that is kind of what I would figure, because if you figure a typical smartphone really costs about $400 or $500, if you break one, you'll figure that out pretty quick.
And that's low volumes. That's our initial low volume market. So as we move to the chipsets I mentioned earlier and to a higher volume profile, you'll see the cost differential drop down to $10 to $15 between a non-satellite phone to a satellite phone.
Now, what about data? Can I use the satellite as a data source?
Absolutely. We have, this is a VoIP phone, so it's actually an all-IP network. So you've got any kind of a data application you want. So your email, you can send SMS, you can do pictures, you can do video, and do that all over the satellite or the terrestrial network.
Is SIP involved in this at all?
It is.
Okay, fantastic. All right, great. So does that actually, takes me to the next point, presence integration or not, or is that coming down?
That'll be down the road.
Fantastic. Well, is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you want to mention?
I'd just say thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you as well, and congratulations on what is obviously a very compelling and groundbreaking new smartphone.
All right, thank you very much.